As you mentioned, sometimes it happens on your end. You get canned as a realtor. Sometimes the lender gets canned for some random product or whatever another lender has, whatever's going on, timing, different things. But the nature of our relationship is a benefited from each other.
I just think the industry, I know this podcast talks a lot. I've seen this podcast and it talks a lot of numbers and stuff, but it's like today it's more from a personal note for me. It's like just kind of like you brought up that I was a musician. I've seen the music industry and the dark underbelly of it and all of that stuff. And it's just like we just need more people that know stuff in our industry. We need more friends. So it's kind of like I equate it sometimes to like making a record or something. It's kind of like you're going to introduce, but you know that 2 to 5 years flies in this life. And you're not going to have a landlord, and you're going to, have, you're going to amortize something as it grows. If the area is growing, and we know SoCal is growing and whatever.
Welcome back, everyone. Jason Thomas here with J&J Financial. I am joined with a good friend of mine, very good friend and referral partner we met through the business, Andreas.
Hello.
With Think Boutique Real Estate. He wears many hats. He's also a musician, has fronted a band, singer-songwriter, golfer extraordinaire. You've got many memories on the golf course. In fact, might be making some later today. We'll see. But he's also a realtor, and he was actually one of the first realtor referral partners that I met in the business and wanted to work with me. So that was pretty cool. Grateful for you for that. But welcome, Andreas.
Thank you for having me. It's funny. We were just talking about that before we jumped on. But Jason and I met, I want to say now it's probably been 7 or 8 years ago at an open house. And it was at a time in my life where I was super hungry and thirsty, so I was taking everything. And it was like I think it was July 4th. It was blistering hot. We were at a home in Cerritos, and we were the only ones there. One person walked through the door, and you ended up closing on that one.
I did.
And they ended up working with a family realtor, which happens to us all the time in the business. But
it is funny how that works.
We've been reciprocating each other's businesses for quite some time now, if that's the right word, I guess. But so I just closed something that I want to be thankful to you for, which kind of good for the business in general to kind of talk about on this podcast. But it's just like our industry right now, I think, is missing professional people and knowledgeable people. And for some reason, not everyone who's not professional or knowledgeable is not getting driven out of the business yet, which is just crazy to me. But I want to be thankful to you because for anyone listening, like Jason basically drove alone to the 1 yard line for me. And then I ended up having the client switch lenders middle of escrow for honestly just bargaining. Just shopping, and there's a lot of shopping going on out there right now, and it's just, So I want to thank you for that, because I'm sorry that happened. But it goes to show your professionalism and J&J's professionalism. There's never been a time I haven't been able to call one of you or all of you, or specifically you, and just get an answer to what I'm looking for. You know what I mean? So, But
well, thanks. Yeah, thanks for that. I appreciate that. I mean, it is the nature of the business that those things happen. As you mentioned, sometimes it happens on your end. You get canned as a realtor. Sometimes the lender gets canned for some random product or whatever another lender has, whatever's going on, timing, different things. But the nature of our relationship, it's nice that we kind of like, well, I'm glad that, you're still able to get it closed. And if there's anything I can do to not rock the boat or cause an issue, obviously I'm not going to do that, because I want to make sure you're going to be able to see it through. And it is kind of funny how that works, how that's worked out over the years, where we've maybe not at the same time, but we've been beneficial, our businesses have benefited from each other.
I just think the industry, I know this podcast talks a lot. I've seen this podcast and it talks a lot of numbers and stuff, but it's like today it's more from a personal note for me. It's like, just kind of like you brought up that I was a musician. I've seen the music industry and the dark underbelly of it and all of that stuff. And it's just like, we just need more people that know stuff in our industry. We need more friends. So it's kind of like, I equate it sometimes to like making a record or something. It's kind of like, you're going to introduce me to like some musicians or some producers, and then we end up making a record together that you're not on. Right. So it's kind of like, I look at transactions that way sometimes. I'm like, if I can give you a client, or you meet a client at one of my open houses and they end up not working with me, but they love you, I'm like, at least I know they're in good hands. They know of me. Like, and then they're going to go have their own experience with their realtor and see they're going to be good or bad. And I hope it's good, because honestly, that's what we need more of. Like, because it's like, I hear so many times, like, clients will come back and be like, I should have used you, or would you have done this? Would this have been different? I had a horrible experience with my realtor, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, it's unfortunate. So just, I got a little off topic there, but I mean, I'm just saying it's
good. I think,
it's important that people know what they're doing and they're good and whatever. And then I know in turn, you're going to give me, the best service that I need, or a client sometimes that ends up switching, like what happened to us this last time. And it's just like, I can just count on it. And then on the times that we do work together, because we have closed.
Believe it or not, we have closed.
I think we're in double digits.
At the same time.
Easily in double digits. So, and I know what that transaction is going to be like. It's super smooth.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it is nice to know what you're going to get. Working with somebody else on the real estate side or the loan side. I think to your point, aside from needing more people that are knowledgeable, we also just need more people that are real in the business as well, and not transactionally focused, but relationship focused. Because if you're real with your client, I mean, at least I found, and I know it's the same for you, but I found for me, then it kind of removes the wall that sometimes clients put up, because they're like, oh, this guy's talking to me, like I matter, not just, oh, I just want to get this loan closed. I don't care about you.
I think that was my point before too, when I got off topic and you brought me back. Thank you. Is like, we do wear many hats as realtors, and it's important. I know my numbers. I know my contracts. I do think that's something that's missing in the industry right now, is people with continual learning, or continuous learning. Like, they need to know what's going on. I'm in a transaction right now where I've had some people ask me, what's this form? What's that form? That's fine. I mean, like, we're always kind of educating each other, but if you're completely oblivious, it hurts. So I do think it's super important that the realtors know their numbers, they know their contracts, and they have a great team in place. Like, if somebody asks me for a lender, I have you. If somebody asks for, insurance, we use MK. We got, like, I know my title people, I know whatever. Like, for me, it's like Showtime Lakers, like my team. I feel very strongly about it.
We like sports analogies.
Very much. But I feel like my team is like Showtime Lakers, and we know our numbers. But then my job is now to also come in, and if I'm working with a young individual buying their first condo, if I'm working with a couple buying a house or their first condo, I want the transaction to have some feels in it. It's super important. You're spending like over $500,000, if not over $1 million, or more, like purchasing an asset that will either stay with your family forever. Look at everything that's happened with the devastating fires. It's like some people were in those homes for 40 years. Like, you can't even put yourself in their shoes. Like, I can't. I'm not 40 years old. Like, some people have been there longer than I've been alive.
Yeah.
And creating memories and all of these things. So for me, I need to learn you as a couple, and I need to be able to adapt and react and also, work with the other side, and just, so it's complicated. It's super complicated. Like,
yeah. Real estate's every transaction's unique.
Yeah.
Essentially, doesn't matter how long you've been doing this for, how many, real estate side, on the contract and dealing with clients, or on the loan side, how many loan scenarios you've seen. There's there's always something new.
And that's what I love
you know,
about it. I love that it's incredibly circumstantial, but what's so funny is the characters in the story are also circumstantial. So
Yes,
I've learned so
absolutely.
much being people's realtor. It's like you learn about their occupation, their lifestyle, how they handle stress, because every transaction is stressful, and you have to adapt and react to that. And sometimes you're the calm, and sometimes you have to be the storm. Like, you know, I fight. I know every home in the fine print in the RPA. Every home in the state of California is sold as is. Nothing's sold as is with me. Like,
Right.
you know, so it's
Oh,
like,
don't I know?
so we have situations where, anyway, like it's a really fun job. So I don't know. What have you seen? What's your opinion on 2025 for the state of California? I'm sure you've talked about it on here, but I mean, like,
Yeah.
what's the vibe out there?
Ah, man. I mean, it's been right now, specifically California. That's one thing. I think just this market, since we moved on from COVID, everyone's always trying to predict, like, oh yeah, 6 months from now it's going to be great, or things are trending this direction. Honestly, if you want to know my honest opinion, everything's so up and down. It's really hard to predict.
Yeah.
It really is. It looks like things are moving in the right direction. You just don't know, though.
Yeah.
We thought the same thing back in September, when
Yeah.
things were really moving in the right direction, and then some geopolitical things going on, things in the economy, all that. Obviously, had the election coming up, and rates started running back up again. It just created this perfect storm going into the holidays of another slowdown in our industry. And the recovery on that, I like to use the analogy of trying to get in shape.
Mm-hmm.
It's so hard to move the needle and lose, whatever, 5-10 pounds.
Right.
Then you can pile it all back
Telling
on in
me.
like a week or less, right? So it's kind of the same thing with these rates. We have these run-ups with, explosive jobs report or whatever it is, and all of a sudden the rates have jumped 1% seemingly in a couple weeks, 3 weeks, whatever. And then it takes so long for it to trickle back down that 1%. And that's kind of what we saw throughout the fall until now. I mean, we're still hovering around.
Are
7%.
you pretty competitive? Because 2 of my last 4 deals, one was an incredible rate with Schools First. They're both high school teachers. And then currently with a Cal vet. So, I mean, like, you guys feel like pretty competitive, right? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, rates are, as a whole, they're still competitive.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know if there's a psychological barrier for clients when the rates, and by this I'm just talking like average rates. I know there's different products out there. If you have a large down payment, obviously you might be getting a really low rate. You're doing a government loan like FHA, VA, but more or less if you're talking to your average lender throughout the country, they're sitting around 7 or higher, like low 7s or whatever for a 30-year fixed mortgage product. And it seems like I don't know if there's a psychological barrier with a lot of people, but things do tend to slow down quite a bit when that 7% figure starts creeping in and comes into play. Whereas when we were in the low 6s back in September, it was a lot more active. I know you noticed that as well.
Yeah.
Not just so much you may have a client that's, hey, we need to buy a home no matter what right now, whether it's 6 or 7%, but the morale, it's a lot more positive, obviously, when rates are lower, and it was just easier to talk about what a loan scenario is going to look like at those rates, because that was essentially the best rates had been all year.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of just the new normal at this point.
I have friends that are realtors in other states, and they try to just even scratch the surface with me, and I'm like, it was almost like a loaded question, because it's like, everything I feel in SoCal is so circumstantial. You couldn't tell half of the people in Altadena or the Palisades 6 months ago that there was going to be devastation. You couldn't tell anybody 6 months ago in SoCal that it would have been Trump back in office. There's everything. So right now I literally have like a Cal vet person. I have another couple who, I can say this, like they're getting married in May. They were given a $150,000 purse for their wedding. They had an intimate conversation with their parents on both sides and said, we're going to forego the wedding. We're going to get married in the courthouse, at the courthouse, and we're going to use that money for a down payment. Is that cool? Obviously, they naturally got everybody's blessing, and now we're hunting for a home using that as the down payment. They want to be here. Their lives are here. Their jobs are here. Got another couple that is going to be selling here pretty soon and moving to Austin, which is a thing, right? Like Boise or like Eugene, Oregon, Austin, Texas. So I got people being like, there's going to be a California mass exodus. I've got people being like, nope, we want to be here. We're not budging. I got people that still want to come here and live the American dream, the SoCal version. Literally case by case basis. Here's another wild one. And this is not my transaction, but a friend representing a home in Santa Monica that was up for sale. Somebody from the Palisades who has cash, because they have that kind of cash flow. The house was up for, I want to say 3.1. They offered 3.4 cash waiving appraisal, no questions.
Wow.
Naturally, that's the offer that they took. Like, because the people were like, we are not, our home in the Palisades was the one we lived at for 40 years. We will sit by and watch this get rebuilt somehow or whatever that all entails. And we need a home in the meantime that's close enough that suits our lifestyle. They happen to see this one for sale. They don't even care if they take a loss on it. Everybody's like, you know that this won't appreciate like to this value by the time blah, blah, blah happens, you know, or whatever. And they're like, yeah, we don't care. Yeah. We'll just sell it for 3.1 then and lose the 300. That's how crazy it is out here, right? So to me, I'm like, when I answer questions from my friends in like Ohio, Washington, I'm like, it's still the Wild West out here. And
sure,
fighting for our lives for commission, which doesn't bother me at all. Like, I will say that because let me tell you this, I'll tell you, and now I'm getting all revved up. Like,
good.
Like, so,
let's get revved up.
Because of the group I was with before, I was only primarily a buyer's agent, which is fine. And then slowly but steadily, I picked up listings and whatever. For a little while, my career was 70-30 buyers. Now it's almost, again, 80-20, if not 90-10 buyers. Like, and my point for that was, like, this whole, like, fighting for your commission thing or whatever, like, from 2017 to, like, 2023, listing agents, in my opinion, were extremely arrogant. Extremely arrogant. They were going in there, they were signing 5-6% contracts, they were barely offering the buy side too. The buy side is doing all the work. I mean, I hate to say it, but for those several years, if not 7 or 8 years, the listing agent would throw the sign in the yard, take a Matterport, take a couple of photos, and do a weekend of open houses, and then basically rummage through their 10, 20 offers, right? Counter the top 5. Let everybody just have a feeding frenzy over it, and then be like, "You're shortening contingencies. You're waiving appraisal. You're no." And I'm just on the
weeding out. Yeah.
I'm on the buy side, and I think it's okay to say I represented you and your family for your house and all that. And it's like we're up against multiple offers. I'm fighting for my life. So like every single win I had was like, oh, to me. And now I'm not saying the market's shifting by any means, but still representing buyers 80-20-ish, 90-10. It's like I'm okay fighting for like our commission and asking for the commission and whatever. There's a lot of like woes in the industry out right now and like panic and people having to restructure how they talk and like their pitch and all that stuff. And it's like I'm actually really happy with it because we should consider ourselves lucky as realtors to even be doing what we're doing. I'm going to sound cheesy right now, but it's like you're honestly helping dreams come true. You're helping a family either move into the home that they're going to create memories in and have all the feels, but also you're creating probably their biggest asset.
100%. Yeah.
I'm one of those people that's like, put it in real estate, that old cheesy saying that it's like, whoever you believe in, but there's always that saying of like, go buy land because God's not making any more of it. Mm-hmm. Or go buy land because the universe is not making any more of it. In fact, it's taking it away in one way or another. Yeah. Like this world is taking away land. So buying the real estate, you're helping a family have all the feels, and you're also helping them with equity. So we're lucky to be doing what we're doing. So I don't have any beef with like again, just ranting here, but it's like fighting for that commission. Because it's like at the end of the day, and you brought up that I've done property management. I have extensive background in property management. We're working for the landlord at that point, making them money hand over fist and getting like a not so healthy hourly wage.
Right.
I can genuinely say that. Like,
Right.
and it's just like, I've seen it all. And it's like, get into home ownership. Figure out a way. Like, don't worry let us worry about interest rates and like what's the best thing and whatever. We get paid to advise. And if you have a good team around you, and I'm again thankful for you, James J, everybody on my team, I can genuinely say like, I trust them giving advice. You know, I'm not going to give you advice when it comes to like CPA stuff or blah blah blah, like taxes and whatever. Go speak to somebody, but I know who you should go speak to.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's like, if we could just build that in our industry again, a little bit of trust, you know, like
it goes a long way. I mean,
Yeah.
if you have, you mentioned you have your dream team, if you will, as real estate related, but if
which one? Like Jordan, Shaq, that dream team, not
right, yeah,
not the later stuff.
yeah. But
I'm old school. But yeah,
to your point, though, your client comes to you and has questions that aren't directly related to what you're doing with real estate. But not only do they trust you to do your job, then you're also referring them to somebody that you know that they're going to trust in regards to taxes or estate planning. Let's say if they want to, figure out a trust or whatever, somebody for that. An attorney for this. A financial advisor, a lender, title, escrow, all these different things, insurance.
And it should be something.
It goes a long way.
It should be something that it's okay if it doesn't benefit you. Now I'm just preaching, but it's like that's what we need more of in general in our industry, and that's something that has sunk us before. It's like so many people, you get into that listing appointment and they are scared of you. They're trying to figure. You're there for them. And they're trying to figure out already how you're going to, like, take them for something. And it's just like, I'm trying to, like, dissipate that stigma or whatever. Like, and you have to find those good people and trust your gut a little bit. Interview everybody. My last client said, they're like, bluntly, they were like, we're interviewing 4 agents. Mm-hmm. I'm like, please do.
Right.
I don't know if you've had her yet, but get Dana on this podcast. That's a human being right there that like automatically will be like, here, take this contact, take that contact. They will do this, they will do that. She just connected me with a termite person from my own parents' house. And that person came to the house and my mom was like, oh my God, I love him. And I'm like, I just made a quick connection. Like, and it wasn't even my connection, it was Dana's. So it's I know I can call MK and be like, what's up? Like, and get an answer within like 30 seconds. So building that network and then trusting that you're honestly just helping each other out. Right. Like it doesn't have to be a financial gain. Like,
it's almost better if it isn't.
That will come.
Because honestly, you start pushing someone that you're going to benefit from financially. I mean, people pick up on that.
Yeah.
It just doesn't come across as genuine. Whereas, if there's nothing in it for you, like, hey, this is just the person that I would trust with this in your shoes. Yeah. And then they go talk to them and they're super happy. They're super happy with you. Everything's it's just building relationships and realizing, hey, this guy's not out for every last dollar. Yeah. He actually cares and wants to see me succeed in whatever I'm trying to do. Yeah. That's what we need more of.
And I'm gonna tread very lightly here, like, because of your listeners. Shopping too much is gonna hurt you, because I understand right now, like, it's gonna be like, I need a house and then I need to, buy eggs, like, or whatever, like, and so the cheapest deal will still get you the cheapest service. I know that sounds horrible, but it's like, not only is the person probably literally like motivated to work less, which is a horrible thing in general, but I mean, it's just about, there's somewhere, no matter what, where they're cutting corners. Yeah. No matter what. So it's kind of like when you find something that is in the middle. I understand we need to be like competitive.
Right.
Can't be super like up
No,
here.
yeah, you got to be in the ballpark.
But you can't be here either, right? And it's
Right.
just like, so I promise you, like the discount person, because where I said I was going to tread lightly, I have a client who not only shopped you like in the past, but shopped their vendors for the person who's going to do the work on their home. And it's like I connected them with phenomenal people. And again, I'm just really trying to walk around this one. They still went with like repairs on the home with the person that was
the cheapest. Yeah.
And it's already providing some backlash, even now that it's raining outside. And it's just kind of like, well, so you're right.
You get what you pay
can't
for,
control.
right?
You cannot control anybody, and the recommendation is there. But it's just like so. Anyway, whatever. It goes back to it's totally pointless. But it goes back to just trust your team.
Yeah.
Like, because I mean, like if I'm telling you I have the lake show, I genuinely feel like I have the lake show. You know.
I think.
So this
To your point with shopping too much and
turn
talking
into
to,
a humble brag. But
yeah, you talk to so many people, but you're going to get so many different personalities that you may have one person being completely transparent and they operate their business from a relationship standpoint, from integrity, and they're literally outlining everything for you, and then you're comparing it to another person who is purely, let's say, transactionally based. They don't really care about you. They just want to close the deal, close the loan, close whatever they're trying to close. Right. And they may not be completely upfront with you about, hey, this is how the scenario actually looks. But then once they get you in there with the promise of whatever, all of a sudden there's the bait and switch, and then you're halfway through.
Yeah.
You feel obligated to close with them, even though it doesn't feel good. But even before all of that, if you're comparing that type of a quote to somebody that's actually there to help you and explain everything, this one, it may seem like it's a great deal. It's all wrapped up, and then once you open it, you realize it's not so great. You're just comparing two different things.
That's another thing is you'll find that those discount people, they're repackaging it differently, right? It's even like when our housing crashed. Like I love the movie The Big Short, but it's kind of like you're just repackaging it, and and somewhere else you're gonna get it,
right?
So it's like just create that community feel and have like the family vibe around it, because those are the people you're gonna trust. Those are people you're gonna refer to. You're going to give referrals to, and then slowly but steadily, like if they want to refinance, they call you. If they want to blah, 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 they call you. It's like, honestly, like real estate in SoCal is like, you might as well know your doctor, your CPA, your priest, your spouse, your real estate agent, your lender, like, I mean, your mortgage broker.
Yeah.
Like, so we're in a list of like top 10 of people that you might want to know, because I'm also the guy you call if you need your roof fixed, like, because I'll hook you up with the right person. We deal with these people every day,
right?
So yeah, I think I didn't know what we were going to talk about today. Our topic for me is like, you choose the right people, because I've seen a lot out there.
Who you work with definitely it really matters. So, and you may not even realize it until after the fact how important that person was, or how important they would have been had you worked with them, because now you're dealing with a situation that you didn't expect.
And trust me, there's a thirst for it out there, because now I find myself in conversations where if I'm in a transaction and the realtor on the other side is amazing, I'm like, oh my God, thank you. Like, and then we literally just start praising each other, because it's like, we know we have a job, right? But it's like, it'd be like, it's like sports. It's kind of like at the end of the day, the Eagles versus the Chiefs. You're two opponents. You both want to win. But at the end of the day, you are going to say good game to each other, and like hard fought and good job and blah, blah, blah. There's a camaraderie of being in the same industry.
Yeah.
Like, so when there's right now, like I'm in a couple of transactions where the agents on the other side are actually phenomenal. And so this isn't just a me thing. It's like, oh, thank you. Like, because I don't have to like, tiptoe around something. I don't have to argue. I don't have to be yelled at. Like, I mean, I've been in situations where I'm just a big Greek dude. I'm like, don't yell at me. Like, but they yell at me. And I'm like,
Yeah.
and there's a voice in the back of my head that's like, shut up for the sake of your client. But at the same time, you're standing there and you're like, I can't believe this is actually happening.
Right.
Like, so how do you get anything done ever? There's no like, so.
Well, to your point on that, because I know we're just kind of rolling with what we're talking about here, but that is a really good point. When, like, as far as who you're working with, I mean, the way that the realtors or the lender or the clients or whoever you're dealing with responds to any sort of hiccup or speed bump in the transaction can really make or break the experience for everybody involved. And it can, if someone's behaving poorly like that, the buyers might walk away with, man, buying a home was the worst experience of my life. Not or the same situation with a great great realtor that handles it and says, hey, I got you, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to solve it. It could be the greatest experience, same situation. So if you want to kind of elaborate on that, because I know you've seen the whole spectrum of bad behavior and good behavior to handle things.
To piggyback on that, where you're absolutely right, and I'm telling you, I didn't want this podcast to be about numbers. I wanted it to be about relationships, because it's for this particular one, because what you just said is absolutely right, even fiscally though, because like the minute you make an enemy out of me, and I'm trained enough to do so. I'm not saying it arrogantly. Like, I've been in the business. I was with a good team. Like, now I'm solo. I have a phenomenal brokerage. We continuously learn weekly, if not daily. We all support each other. We have like 40 plus agents now, when we started with like 3 and I was one of them. And we are at a point where we call each other for everything before we act, if we have even a single question, right? Now, let's say you're on the other side, though, and you start yelling at me or cursing at me, or you make an enemy out of me. Now I'm well-equipped and well-versed to not help you at all. So please, in the art of making a deal or whatever, like, and both sides are trying to win-win, now you've made an enemy out of me, and this is like Kobe Bryant shit. I will figure out a way to learn all of the rules so I know which ones to break, because you upset me. Like, you don't get to do that to me, and you don't get to do that to my client, most importantly.
Right.
Like, so you're fiscally losing if you're being mean. I was going to say something else, but I'm doing really good at not cursing. If you guys know me,
we're keeping it PG-13
at all, every other word is a bad word. So so for example, like a request for repairs or credits or whatever, it's kind of like, if you guys are all cool with each other and you're respectful to each other and you both understand, and I go, hey, like, the roof is $4K. And the termite, I know you don't have to do it in this particular transaction, but it came back at like $3K. Like, can you give us like half of that? Maybe send in a guy to do the GFCIs, blah, 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 blah. If you have built that rapport and you have a good relationship and you're respecting each other, you bring the right evidence to the table, the reports, the quotes, the whatever, and you have a common sense conversation with each other, I am more likely as a listing agent, let's say, to go back to my client and be like, hey, let's be reasonable about this. You didn't know that this stuff was an issue. But no. If everything is cool, I don't have sellers saying fuck you. Sorry. I don't have sellers saying screw that buyer. 99% of the time, if everything's friendly, they're like, not only do I want to move in somebody cool to the neighborhood because I've been here for so long and that's my name and reputation and whatever, but I made memories in this house. I don't want it to go to some da-da-da. Let's work together. Yeah. Let's make this happen. If I'm on the buy side, as is. And then I'm like, hold on. Like, there's this, and that. And everything's fine between us. It's like super cool. Like, and most of the time we'll get it, or we'll get half of it, or 3/4 of it, or whatever.
Right.
The minute you start being reactive, or you're mean to each other, or you think it's like us versus them, and da-da-da-da-da, it's like, and you start yelling at me, like, I'm loading my guns. Like, that's just the way it is. Because now I'm like, well, if this is how you function during a transaction, where else now do I need to have my red alert or whatever, you know,
Right.
like, and I'm watching out for everything, and I'm not going to let you take me for anything or my clients, because I'm like, hold on. Like, so a big, I have to say it, it's like, and people might disagree with me. For me, especially in our market here, because it's a totally different market than like Washington State or Ohio or whatever. Like, I've been there. And it's like, our market here is relationship based, circumstantial, case by case basis, per house, per buyer, per what the buyer is going through, per what the seller is going through. We deal with death, we deal with divorce, we deal with relocation to a different state, sometimes willingly, sometimes not willingly. Like, I've had somebody be like, I have to move to Vermont. I don't want to.
Right.
Like, blah, blah, blah. I love it here. So there's so much that goes into, think about that. I mean, it's not like you don't, but other people, it's an entire life, that house. Like especially when you see what part of the paycheck is going to the mortgage.
Yeah.
And you're under the house. You're making babies in that house. You're dancing in that kitchen. You're fighting in that kitchen. Like, I don't care. Like, so I take that into consideration. I'm like, it is so important. So, and that, I wish there was a little more of that. That's where my music comes in, probably, because I started out as a musician.
Yeah.
And then heavily into property management. And then from property management, I had to get my license to now. And the music, deep thinking, fun side of me, creative side of me is honestly an empath. And I have to take all of that into consideration. So we just need to remember more as realtors that it's like literally case by case basis. Every time I close an escrow and I'm opening a new one, it's a hard reset. This was not the last transaction. These were not the last
brand
people.
new. Yeah.
The situation's different. The paycheck's different. The career is different. The location is different. Got clients that are like, I won't go 1 mile past this road because it's too far from work.
Right.
Which you deal with in SoCal, by the way. If anybody out of the States listening to it, if they're like, I got to be on the 405 and then the 22 and then the blah, 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 I'm not buying the house a block over. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So I love it. I love it. But I mean, it's so, you're never bored.
Well, I want to ask you about the music thing and the creativity, because I would venture to guess that it can be very frustrating dealing with certain personalities on the other side of the transaction, knowing that you care so much and you're so relationship based, and then you got to deal with somebody that's just transactionally based. How do you navigate that? I know you were kind of just alluding to it with everything you were talking about right now, as the whole like us versus them thing, because a lot of people do tend to take that approach instead of realizing that you all have a common goal of getting this transaction done for your buyers and sellers. But would you say that's maybe the most frustrating part of the business?
It's frustrating, but I'm learning. And I honestly have to thank an old professor of mine, Dr. Swanson. When I was in college, he had us write position papers. I always bring this up. And it was one of those classes where he gave us like this fat book called Writing Arguments. And all we did was write position papers. And what I mean by that is literally 1 week we would have to study like pro-choice. And then like the next week we would have to study anti-abortion. And we'd have to literally submit a paper that was pro-choice. The next week submit a paper, and that's not controversial me saying that here. It's literally bipartisan writing. It was like one day you're a Democrat, the next day you're a Republican. One day you like metal music, the next day you like only rap music, and why? And then you had this almost like argue the other point, right? It was like you're criminal defense, now you're prosecutor. And I found that so fascinating, because now it's taken this many years for me to fall back on that and answer that question. At the end of the day, the person I'm working for is my client. Right. So like sometimes, and it's been difficult for me because I am empath, relationship based and whatever, but at the end of the day, and I will say I've been way better at it since COVID, but like I know how to navigate through the feels. I know how to help create some feels, but at the end of the day, I'm working for my client, which means I have to take their position. Right. I can counsel them on the side behind closed doors. But the minute they say go, if it's well within our legal like right to, or what, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I go. I mean, there's a way to do it. Like, there, you know, you can still speak politely to the other side. That was my point before.
Yeah.
Like, there's an etiquette and a respect and ethics that go into, like, what we do. And it doesn't matter who I'm speaking to on the other side. I will always be like that. I might have a potty mouth, like I said, but I never curse, like, to the other side. I don't write anything stupid in emails. I don't say anything. But I don't know. To answer the questions, me navigating through it, I wouldn't have been able to do that unless was a musician and also had taken those classes in college that was basically about creative writing and writing arguments, because it honestly, you have to take a moment and just be like, I see their side, I see our side, but my whole point is to argue our side. Like, that's just what it is.
Right.
Like, so you almost think of it like an attorney, I think,
I
at
was
that
gonna
point.
just say, yeah.
Like, I'm like, we can go have, like, a coffee or something at the end of the day, like, or at the end of the transaction. You know, we're going to go golfing after this and whatever. But at the end of the day, we still have those conversations even on the golf course, where it's kind of like, hey, you got screwed over on this, but I have to go represent my client now. Like, thanks, Jason. Yeah. So, like, and you're the same. Like, I've had people let me go, like I said at the beginning, and end up working with you and closing with you. And it's just like, at the end of the day, like, good luck. Go do you. Like, so I think if you meet somebody that's on the other side of the transaction and they're cool and they understand the job,
makes it way easier.
Then that's all it is. Because again, like, we could even go back to sports. Like, it's okay that, you know, Kobe Bryant's friends with Allen Iverson. He's not friends in the transaction.
Right.
Like,
not on the court.
He's not friends on the court.
Outside,
But outside of that, you're cool. So it's like, you just need to, I look at it like, okay, well, this is my point. This is my job. But I will say, like, I've had to learn. I've had to research that. I had to read that book called Writing Arguments. Maybe next time I'm on, I'll bring it and suggest it to people, because it's very good. It literally will bring up anything. It'll bring up, like, court cases, sports teams, like, whatever, and it'll literally say, this is your job, you have to go and do this. However, like, it's okay to be understanding of all things. In fact, it helps you. So it's like, you almost research the other side too. You have to put yourself in their shoes,
right?
Like, and be like, okay, this is how they're going to come at me, so how am I going to defend that? You can't say, like, a boxer doesn't study the other person, so I'm, you know, so I need to be like this, and he likes to go, and then, so we learn. But I mean, anyway, I don't know, like, that's what I have to do, like, is just learn my side, learn their side, and then protect my side.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's all good points. So let's talk that, but how about with your client? How do you handle when your client keeps, you know, you want them to, hey, this is what we need to do. Let's continue down this path, and they keep wanting to veer off, almost like a wind-up toy that keeps going around in circles or something, and you keep having to redirect them this way because they just don't know any better.
Right. Like a child.
It is. I mean, it's something they don't know. It's brand new to all of them. So how do you navigate that kind of thing? Because I know that can get pretty frustrating for people, especially, I guess, if you've been in the business a long time and you're just tired of dealing with that. But for us, like, I know I tend to work.
You first.
I tend to work really well with first-time homebuyers because I enjoy explaining the process.
We know this about both of us.
Yeah, and you, I mean, you've done a lot of business with first-time homebuyers as well.
Yeah.
So, and we've seen the whole spectrum of your model client that just soaks up everything you say and are super excited, and then you've got the ones where you're just met with a lot of resistance because they think they know better, and they think that they're the expert, even though they haven't even bought a home yet. So what's your take on all of that, and how do you manage the different energies that you encounter?
Good question. Learn your client, first of all, right? And again, it goes back to character and personality and whatever, but just learn your client. You can learn a lot from them. Like, you know, I can tell you, like, a school teacher will approach something very different than an engineer.
Right.
Like, I mean,
Yeah.
like, it's just head on. So my whole thing, and again, it goes back to us. It goes back to knowledge as a realtor. Please know your stuff as a realtor, because you don't know what you're going to get asked. So with the first-time home buyers, that's an easy answer. It's like, I love teaching. I don't want this to sound negative. I love hand-holding in a transaction because, again, I'm very confident in what we know. If I don't know something, I'm confident in my brokerage that I can ask them and get an answer quickly. And then I'm confident in my entire team. So if somebody calls me and they ask me a loan question and it's you, I'm like, oh, good question. Please call Jason and let me know what the answer is, and so I can learn too.
Yeah.
Like, if it's me and it's real estate, I know. You learn your client and you learn how to explain it to them. Most of the time they're thankful. Like, I think if you're over explaining and they're brand new, because some people, a lot of first time home buyers in SoCal really don't know what goes into it at all. Like,
Right.
at all. So for me, I'm not sure I can answer that question any better than saying navigating a first time home buyer is easy. You explain everything to them step by step, and then you prepare yourself to know that you're going to have to do that again. Like, I have a consultation in person. If you're a first time home buyer and I find that out, I get you pre-approved first with you or whoever they want to use. And then we sit down and have a face-to-face consultation. I don't like Zoom. I don't like phone call. We don't know each other's beats yet. Like, you know what I mean? I want to, like, so many times we're interrupting each other on the phone, like when you're just first getting to know them.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I like sitting down, having a consultation in person. Let me learn you and your needs. And it goes way past what's your favorite room in the house and how big square footage you want. You're learning each other. And then literally, like, I go through the steps of what a transaction looks like, from when we're looking and offering to when we get accepted, to our contingencies, to close and keys in hand. And then I just, like I said, I know that I'm going to have to do that again. Almost probably for the next however long.
Right.
Like, I mean, and I love that, and I'm cool with that. Because at the end, I want you to not only be happy, have the feels, have the financial feels, but also, like, just know that now I know how to buy a home. Like, and that you were in good hands. For the people who over Google, that's where I say jump back and let it fall on you as a realtor. Like, make sure you know your stuff, because something that they Google, I've seen realtors get stumped by their own clients, and that's the part where, just, again, learn your client, learn how to communicate. But when they throw something out that they Googled at you, you better be ready to correct them.
Right.
Like,
Oh, I get that too all the time.
I'm correcting everything on the internet, like, including, by the way, Zillow's estimates. Like, it's not there all the time.
Right.
Sometimes it's close. I'm not gonna, like, knock a whole corporation down, but sometimes it's not. Like, so, and we pride ourselves on, like, less than half a point getting appraisal to value of what we list. So, like, I'm very confident in knowing what a home is worth,
Right.
or what we know an appraiser is going to say. So from Zillow to Google, just know your business, like, know what you're talking about, know your continuous learning. Even like right now, because of all of these lawsuits that have been happening in real estate and the concessions that people are offering and whatever, they change the contract on us like every 3 weeks. You should know.
Right.
You should know what it is that they're changing. Just log into your PWR or your MLS, whatever you call yours, like, and you'll see all of the pages. Like, that's the part where I'm like, it was too easy for a long time. Like, listing agents would throw a sign in the yard, fumble through the transaction, and get paid 2.5-3%.
Yeah.
And I died inside.
Yeah.
Morally, I was dying inside, because I like the whole flashy, like, ooh, this is cool opportunity. But, like, at the same time, it's like, no. Because half of those people, I'd be like, did you read your title report?
Right.
As the listing agent? And they didn't even know, for example, like, there was a title issue.
Right.
Like, I'm like, well, I knew that was coming because I read it before I went to the appointment. So So it should fall on you. Like to navigate the clients that think they know it all. It's not a big deal. Like, again, see, I'm more peaceful than a lot of people. I don't get mad at them. They have the right to Google. It's their response. Like, this is therapy talking.
Yeah.
But it's and I am.
It's a little bit of a therapy session.
But it's like, no, I mean, I'm saying I've even learned this from my therapist. I have no problem admitting that I've done therapy. It's you have to. It's okay that they're coming at you with Google, because they're nervous. Like, it's a big deal to them. It doesn't matter if it's their second.
So it's all in how you respond.
Yeah, it's not about, it's my second or third transaction, or I want to know it all, or whatever. They're just trying to get ahead of the curve, because it's a daunting task to spend $1 million. I mean, like, even if I was, whatever, Metallica, I'd be like, what are we spending $1 million on? So for me, it's just having that compassion. Like, and just being like, okay, they're going to Google the heck out of this and come at me with blah, blah, blah. And I just need to know my business. If you're confident as a realtor and you know your business, they can come at you with something that they Googled, and you need to confidently be like, yeah, that's not how it works. Here's how, here's why. And not get so defensive that they Googled something. Because, you know what, I've been guilty of it too. Like, and again, it falls back on, we sort of did this to ourselves. Because I've worked with producers musically that don't know anything about engineering, and then I end up having to engineer, and then you pay them points anyway for engineering. And you're like, what the fuck was this for? So, and then you come up to an engineer that's like, no, Andreas, like, face the microphone towards the cone this way because the sound wave, no. And then I'm sitting there learning. I hear it back and it sounds phenomenal. And I'm like,
oh, that's why.
Oh,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Good thing I didn't YouTube that.
Yeah.
So you can't YouTube buying a house, and you can't Google buying a house. I'm sorry. You can't.
Right.
Like, there's a reason why I got my license. There's a reason why I renew it. There's a reason why I'm at my brokerage. Like, there's a reason why everything's different in every transaction. And but I am, again, I'm still working with my client. Like a producer. Like, I'm the client's the artist, right? And let's say the client's the artist and the house is the album. I don't know if that analogy is going to make sense, but I'm the producer. I'm helping you accomplish that thing, but it's your thing. Mm-hmm. Like Rick Rubin with the Chili Peppers.
Right.
It's like, that's the Chili Peppers album, but Rick Rubin produced it. So it's like, I look at it like, okay, the agent's supposed to go in there and learn the artist and then massage the situation, and hopefully for the greatest and best outcome. Like, and have the team around you, right? Like, so whether that's engineers or whatever, like, that's it.
Yeah.
And
no, that's all great. I mean, that kind of leads me to my last point, and then we got to wrap it up here. As far as, I know you were asking about maybe a little bit of a real estate forecast for 25, or my opinion of it. What are you seeing, and more specifically, the sentiment of buyers? Because I know you've closed a number of transactions throughout the fall and winter, in spite of the election, in spite of rates going up, in spite of just a general holiday slowdown. You still have activity going. So do you think it's anything specifically that you're doing in your communication to the client to make them feel comfortable in a storm, if you will, of real estate, where it's just kind of an unknown? How are you, I guess, keeping the buyer morale positive when you're speaking with them? And then also, just what are you seeing in general when you do talk to other people that are kind of on the fence right now? I think a lot of that is probably going to dictate, how real estate's going this year.
I'll tell you this because it makes me think of a particular person at one of the communities that I help asset manage. That's strictly he's renting. He doesn't believe in buying a house at all, even though he has the money to. And he's at a place where he's renting a 2-bedroom for $4,500.
Oof.
In an apartment community.
Right.
It has all the amenities, the bells and whistles. It's A+ in Irvine. But you can't convince this human because of taxes and wear and tear on the house and home ownership and making the mortgage and mowing the lawn and maintaining this, and I won't have a pool, and I won't, million things that he'll come,
All the negative things.
that he'll come up with.
Just ignoring the positive.
But that's one person out of 10 conversations I'm having. The other 9 out of 10 are so terrified of renting forever because they're like, they think, that the middle class is slowly being eliminated and that we're moving into you own your home and that's you. And COVID helped tremendously, right? They were stuck in like their little cubicles of apartments or whatever, or stuck in something where they didn't own it. So they were unsure of the certainty of like how long they would be there, would the rents go up, would whatever. So most of the people I'm talking to, the buyers, are highly motivated to get into a home that they are proud to call theirs. Like where it's down to like, again, see, I'm talking all feels today, but it's down to like, I want to paint the wall, whatever the fuck I want to paint it without asking permission. I want to know if another pandemic happens, I'm locked down in my place.
Right.
I want to know if in 5 years we're playing the Hunger Games, that, in real life, that I'm that I'm there.
Yeah.
That's my house.
Yeah.
Like, they want to know that they're not going to get kicked out. They want to know that they're not going to get sent a 60-day change in terms of tenancy, saying your rent is not 34, now it's like 39. Or even 10%. Like whatever.
Yeah.
Like hey, I'm selling the house and it needs to be sold vacant. Right? Or whatever. Get out. Like, because a lot of people are liquidating some assets. Some people are not. Some people are this. There's a major uncertainty in not being a homeowner or a condo owner or townhome owner. Like, so I will tell you my climate of buyers, my conversations I'm having with them to answer your question is probably a whole lot different than yours.
Yeah.
Like mine is strictly emotional. Like, so they are doing what they can. Like most of them, I'll be honest, they're borrowing like gift funds from parents. Yeah. For down payments.
Yeah, I see that a lot on my
and they're just figuring out. Sure. They're just figuring out how. So we're in that lukewarm little part of real estate where right now I think they're just how. Like even the ones that are moving back with their parents so they can save for a down payment at some point. It's like it's a fear that I'm having in conversations that I'm hearing from. I don't want to be at the mercy of a landlord in a box I don't own. So I'm like, okay, so let's figure it out.
How. Yeah.
And that's where, do you have a lender? And I send them to J&J or whatever. Do you have a parent that wants to give money? What do you have in your savings account? Whatever. So I mean, like, I don't know what's the best thing at this point to go in on? 25% down, like guns loaded? I mean, I don't see that anymore. I see 10, 15% down. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I've had both recently. It just depends. There's all sorts of different scenarios, like you said. Gift funds, obviously, from family helps out, but I mean, yeah, real estate in general, obviously, it's a tough market to get into because it's so expensive here. But if you do have the means to do so, I think the takeaway here is there's still a lot of benefit to owning real estate that your client may not even be aware of unless you're educating them on it.
Right.
And it can be easy to, even for us in our position, to get I don't know if I want to use the word negative per se, but sometimes if the sentiment overall, is kind of low or morale is kind of low. You got to be careful that you're not giving off that vibe to your client if they're actually interested in buying a home, because it might get the wheels spinning in their head and they may decide to hold off and miss out on a great opportunity potentially. Yeah. So that's something that I know I'm trying to work on and make sure that I'm talking everything through with the client, because at the end of the day, I am working for the client. Yeah. Just like you are. So we can give them our advice and our recommendation and talk everything through to make sure it makes sense. But as long as we're talking in a manner of like, hey, this is the market. These are the positives of this type of a market. Yes, we know it's not a COVID market where rates are 3%, but it's also not a COVID market where you walk in and there's
hold
already
on.
50 offers. Right?
Let me jump in there. I know we're gonna golf here soon, folks.
Yeah.
But like
We'll wrap it up. But yeah.
there should be a part 2 if we have anything good. But let me jump in on that. That whole 2-3% that drove everybody into the market is what created, in my opinion, the psychotic feeding frenzy that was like a home for $800K, which we dealt with some stuff in South Pasadena that we saw. It didn't happen to us, but we saw. They'd list a home for like $850K and sell it for 1.1, waiving appraisal.
Yeah.
And granted, that one was priced low, but I saw it happen in hotter markets where the percentage gap is bigger, like Long Beach, where they're listing a home in Long Beach for $850, sells for like over $1 million, waiving appraisal. It closes. Now that sets the precedence for that street. Next house goes up on the market. There's 2-3% buyer, rates. So it's driving everybody into the market. So these houses are getting like 30 offers,
or more.
Or more.
Yeah.
There's some houses. There's some that have like 55, 60 offers.
I remember.
And they're like, we're going to counter the top 10.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't even know how you sit and read 60, but you have to. If you're doing your job, you have to.
Yeah.
They're probably just looking at the price at that point. And it's like, again, and making buyers do horrific things. And I say that jokingly, but it's just kind of like our version of it. It is. It was like 5-day inspection contingency. Go, rush. Tell me what's wrong with the house. Too bad, because I'm selling it as is and I can. I've signed 5 backup offers. I'm selling it for $150 over asking and you're waiving appraisal. I'm blah, 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 and you're da-da-da. I want this thing closed in 20 days. The buyer, especially a first-time home buyer, has no idea they don't even have a second to think. They don't have a second to breathe. They don't have a second to analyze their own purchase that they're over purchasing. To the point where I talked to you about this a lot, where I was like, okay, we're going to get beat out on something because they're offering $150K over without any questions. I'm like, I can't even tell my client to do that because the house is not worth that.
Right.
Like, so the only reason I was bringing that up was to the buyers out there, please don't be scared of something between like 6 and 8%, because right now there is a trend that I'm seeing where I'm one of like 5 offers, not one of 80.
Right.
So it's giving me a chance to fight for you to get a house at what its value actually is. We have a chance of getting accepted. I have a chance of getting through a 10-day inspection contingency, a 14-day appraisal without waiving appraisal, a loan, or whatever, a blah, blah, blah. So if we can get in now and you want to refinance later, because you guys had a refinance boom during that. If anything, that was, in my opinion, who it was benefiting, right? The most was like people that got a chance to refi with you during COVID.
For sure, yeah.
Because the buyers, I'm sorry, but getting a house $150K over on a rush is not... We could sit and figure out the math on another podcast, but if you're going to get it at 6.5 now at what it's actually worth and have a moment to like spiritually breathe and be like, okay, cool, we did the roof, we did the no, I know what's wrong with it. I know I negotiated this, we fixed that, we did this. I think there's going to be some more inner peace than like some feeding frenzy of I got an 850 for 1.1.
Yeah.
Like, cool.
It's definitely a little more balanced now.
So,
it's not quite fully balanced,
and listing
obviously,
agents are
'cause there's not
dying
enough homes
everywhere.
for sale, but yeah, it is. That's kind of goes back to just talking about with buyers that are interested in potentially buying this year. Talking that through the pros and cons, because sure, the rate in and of itself doesn't sound great. It's kind of the new normal, but let's talk about the positives and what you can do with that rate, as far as go talk to your CPA, tax write-offs, get the home for what it's valued at, like you said, or in some cases maybe even slightly under what it comes in at for.
I'm not trying to convince.
So there's a lot of pros and cons essentially, and I think that's the takeaway for this year is really that's where you're going to add value to your clients, is if you're able to say, hey, this is what we're working with. This is how it could benefit you. We can look at the cons as well, but as long as you have all of the information so you can make an informed decision, then the client's going to feel a lot better about that and not feel like they're so rushed into something without knowing what they're doing.
And this is the part where I'm not going to get sentimental. We should probably end on this. Maybe you do get into a townhome or something that you're not super pumped about. Mm-hmm. But you know that 2 to 5 years flies in this life. And you're not going to have a landlord. And you're going to, have, you're going to amortize something as it grows. If the area is growing and we know SoCal is growing and whatever, good chance, and maybe I don't have a crystal ball, I have to say all these like disclosures, right? But it's like good chance we can sell that thing in like 2 to 5 years and get you where you want to be. Or by then you've saved again and now that's an investment property and we get you into what you want to be and now you're also a landlord.
Right.
Like just get in.
Right.
My whole thing is just get in, because it's like if you're stuck renting, you're stuck renting and the landlord doesn't care about you. I promise you, I'm sorry. I hate to say that.
Yeah, it's transactional.
I work with all of them. You're a number.
Right.
And not a lot of feels in that game.
Yeah.
If I meet you out there, landlord, who has feels, I will tell you. Because
God bless you.
Yeah. Because it's not out there.
Yeah. All right, well, let's wrap it up here. I know we got to get going. Appreciate you coming on, Andreas.
Yes,
we're
thank
definitely
you.
Going to do this again. We have a lot to chat about, so there will be a part 2 for sure.
We should. Jason and I golf a lot, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we are always in a 7-game series, and right now we're tied 2-2.
We are tied 2-2.
And we're going to go see where that goes.
Yeah.
Game 5.
We're going to see what happens. All right, man.
Cool.
Thanks again. Thanks, guys.